time for more fun at-home experiments. So one of the ways that you can tell a difference between salt and sugar without tasting it is to see how it freezes. So I'm gonna run a little experiment here. I have got 2 cups of water measured in the same amount. Doesn't really matter how much you put. And so we got 2 of those, and then I've got sugar and I've got salt. And I'm gonna put food coloring in as well, just to make it a little bit more fun, but that's not necessary. And then you're gonna take a measuring spoon. Doesn't matter how big it is, just as long as you're measuring the same amount for the salt and for the sugar, and pour it into each of the cups. Now, take a moment and pause the video, and can you answer, why is it important that it's the same amount of water and the same amount of either salt or sugar in each cup? I'll wait. Okay, so hopefully you wrote down an answer about why it has to be the same amount. If it's not the same amount, then it's not a fair test, and we have to make fair tests. So I'm gonna measure out the salt and the sugar into the cups and stir it up and check back in a second. Okay, now I'm gonna put 2 drops of the green food coloring in, just to make it a little bit more fun on the salt. Because, I don't know, seaweed is salty, so I got green for that. Now 2 drops of the yellowy for the sugar. Okay, stir it up. Now you might be able to tell sugar's not really dissolving quite the same. The salt is pretty much completely dissolved. Okay, so the way we're gonna tell the difference between salt and sugar here without tasting it is that salt and sugar freeze differently. So I'm gonna pour the water into my ice cube tray and then freeze it overnight. We'll check the results in the morning. And right now, jot down on your notes, what do you think is going to happen to the salt water and what do you think is going to happen to the sugar water? How are they going to freeze? How might they be different? Do you have a reason why? Give a guess. Okay, a couple hours have passed, so we are going to check on the ice cubes. Here they are. Remember, salt was green and sugar was yellow. So let's see what happened. Okay, on the surface, kind of looks the same. Okay, that made a solid ice. Whoa, okay. It's on the salt side. Salt water. Oh, this kind of froze, but not really. And then we get to sugar, and sugar water definitely froze. So from this experiment, we can see that those both taste weird on the end of a chopstick. But water combined with sugar will freeze. Water combined with salt won't freeze. Can you think of anything you know about that is like a big blue thing made of salt water that, unless it's exposed to really, really cold temperatures, does not freeze? If your answer was the ocean, that's what I thought too. I've never seen the ocean, which is salt water, really freeze. So that kind of helps me understand why the salt water didn't freeze. And also, I know we don't live in places that have a ton of snow or ice rinks or things like that, but when they need to clear the roads or like make ice skating rinks and things like that, they put salt on the roads in order to help clear the ice and the water there. They don't put sugar. So the sugar was able to freeze, the salt wasn't. So now we've learned something different about that. Tune in next time for our experiment. Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen laboratory. Today we're doing more experiments with salt and sugar. As you learned about yesterday when we talked about the Dead Sea, salt makes things float because the salt molecules and the water molecules combine together and make it more dense, so things float to the surface. Sugar will not make things float. And then there is normal water. So today we're gonna do something called the egg float test, just because it's cool to watch. So what we're gonna do here is I've got 3 cups. In this cup, and all the cups have equal amounts of just normal water. In this cup I made it yellow, and this is gonna be our sugar cup. This is gonna be regular water, and this is going to be salt water. And I just made it blue because it made me think of the ocean, and I think that's kind of fun. Woo!
All right, probably should not have put my finger in it, but I promise my finger is clean and not contaminated. So what I'm gonna do now, they all have equal water. I'm going to take a measuring cup, 1/4 cup, which is 60 milliliters, and put a 1/4 cup of salt in this one, and a 1/4 cup of sugar in this one, and stir it all around. Then we're gonna see if eggs float in it, because the salt water should make the egg float. It should sink in water, and it should sink in sugar water. It does not have the same properties as salt water. Okay, I got my sugar water. It's not really dissolving, stirring. Nothing to stir in the normal water. And then now I've got my salt water. Whoa. Stir it up with my handy stirrer here. Wow, you can already see it just looks a lot thicker, more dense, right? It's a lot less transparent, a lot less see-through. You see the difference. Normal water, sugar water, still see-through. And then we have this salt water here, which is way more dense. Okay, here comes the eggs. So the water that is plain is my control. Since we haven't changed anything, the egg just goes and it chills down there. Okay, so that's the control. And now we have the two variables, sugar and salt. Time to test the sugar water. What do you think's gonna happen? Make a prediction. All right, and tiny floatiness. No, it's just resting right on top of the sugar. Okay, here comes the salt water. Let's see. Oh, it worked. That is so cool. Okay. So again, salt water made the egg, it's floating like woo. And what's cool too is like the salt is actually still really on the bottom, but you can kind of see it's gotten taller. So the same 1/4 cup of salt is in here, but because it's combining with the water, it looks taller. I'll show you what I mean over here in the sugar. Same amount of sugar, but it's down here. Oh, and there's little bubbles, really cool. Okay, and here's that egg. And so now we know that salt makes things more dense and that the egg will float in salt. So now that we've done that experiment, later on I will take the granules that were found at the bottom of the mystery cup and decide if it's salt or sugar, and I will know if it's salt if an egg floats in it, and I'll know if it's sugar if it does not. And now I'm going to make an omelet. All right, one more test we can do to discover the difference between salt and sugar without tasting it, and when you're not sure what it is to try and heat it up and melt it. Now, if you're gonna do this at home, you definitely need an adult. What I'm gonna do is measure out a tablespoon of both and add food coloring just so we can see the difference, and put it on the frying pan. I'm gonna heat it up for about 3 minutes and then see which one melts. Now, you can take a guess right now, make a prediction. What do you think? Does salt melt or does sugar melt? And try to think about what you know about sugar, maybe how you've eaten it, or the different ways that you've seen it presented in food. Think about what you know about salt, how you've eaten it, and the different ways you've seen it presented as a food or as a liquid, and make a guess right now before I reveal the results. Okay, so I measured it out, and this is the sugar, and you can see it's already kind of like forming little crystals. I tried to stir it, and I can't. Ooh. Okay, I don't have any heat on yet. And then here is the salt, and it's formed these little blobs with the food coloring. Okay, so now I'm gonna turn the heat on carefully, and it's gonna go on for 3 minutes, and then we'll check in and see what the difference is. Okay, so my heat is on. I'm supervising myself, and you guys, look at what's happening to the sugar. It's melting, it's bubbling, it's actually moving and sliding. Oh my goodness. Nothing's happening to the salt. It's sliding this way because my stovetop is not exactly even. Okay, I'm gonna turn the heat down. I mean, it's only been going for a minute, and look at the total difference between how sugar behaves and how salt behaves when exposed to heat. Woo! Okay, there's the sugar. It's turning colors. Oh my gosh, oh, it smells like cotton candy. Oh, that smells, I want to taste it so bad, but I know I'm not supposed to. Okay, I just turned the heat off because I think we've seen enough. And here's the salt. Nothing's happened. It got kind of solidified. It kind of got a little bit chunky, but huge difference into how it reacted. Okay, wow, that smell is a smell. It's a little bit smoky in my kitchen now, but just to check that out again, sugar, salt, totally different. Did that match up with your prediction? The sugar melted, so I'm just thinking of what I know about sugar, and a lot of candy, hard candy is made from sugar, right? We don't need a lot of salt candy. So if you think of like a sucker or a lollipop or a lifesaver, those are all made from sugar that you would have to melt down to form into this. And you couldn't do that with salt. I'm trying to think about heating up salt. We use that in cooking, but it would be added to another liquid. When we heated up the sugar, it actually turned into a liquid. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? I really want to taste it, but I'm not going to because that is not science safety. So if our mysterious substance, when it's heated, liquefies, then we will know it's sugar. If it does not liquefy, we will know it's salt. There it is. Just sticking to the bottom of my pan. Oh dear. Okay, I hope I can clean that up. Okay, so let's review. We have learned that when it comes to freezing, sugar will freeze, but salt won't really. When it comes to making things float and making water more dense, sugar will not affect it, but things will float in salt water. And when it comes to melting and heat, sugar will melt. It will actually change what it looks like. It became a liquid, and then it'll solidify and give you a mess in the kitchen to clean up. That's right. But salt just kind of cakes together and sits there. So now we will be testing the mystery substance and lining it up with the 3 things we've learned today. So we'll do that tomorrow and discover what exactly it was. Stay tuned.